Sometimes you don't want to explore a 400-hour open world full of side quests about soup ingredients and lost goats. Sometimes you just want a game to drag you through emotional chaos and epic boss fights. So today I'm handing you 25 linear games that don't waste time, just feelings. These are tight, focused, unforgettable experiences that say, forget the map, you're coming with me. Prepare for heartbreak, headshots, plot twists, and possibly a talking book with boundary issues. Let's go. Sifu is the kind of game that looks you straight in the eyes and says, you think you're Jackie Chan? Prove it. Then it kicks you in the jaw, ages you a decade, and asks you politely to get back up and try again. The whole aging mechanic is basically a reminder that time waits for no one, and neither do these bosses. One minute you're a young, cocky fighter, the next you're old enough to yell at the AI about kids these days while doing spinning kicks. Every punch, block, and perfectly mistimed parry made me question my reflexes and my existence. It's like if Kung Fu movies had a baby with Dark Souls and raised it on strict discipline and protein shakes. And don't let the art style fool you. It may look minimalist, but behind it is a black belt in pain delivery and an honorary PhD in whooping your pride. Play it, then cry, then play it again. Uncharted 4 is like if Indiana Jones decided to swap his whip for a grappling hook and unresolved childhood trauma. Nathan Drake is back, slightly older, slightly more I really should retire, but still allergic to quiet weekends. You start in a perfectly normal attic and end up dangling off cliffs, chasing pirate treasure, and dodging bullets like you're cosplaying as luck itself. The Madagascar chase scene alone feels like someone strapped a camera to a theme park ride and shouted, "More explosions!" Nate's brother Sam appears out of nowhere like that cousin who owes you money but also has cool stories. Every puzzle is just smart enough to make you feel like Sherlock, and every jump feels like a lawsuit waiting to happen. But man, it's fun. This is a game where you fall off more things than you climb and still feel like a badass archaeologist by the end. The Last of Us starts with a mushroom apocalypse and somehow makes you cry before the title screen finishes loading. Joel is basically your grumpy uncle with emotional baggage, and Ellie is the kid who makes sarcastic jokes while casually saving your life. It's a heartwarming tale of bonding through mutual trauma and stabbing fungus monsters in the face. The stealth is so tense you'll start holding your breath in real life. One wrong move and it clickers in your ear like a broken Bluetooth speaker trying to kill you. Supplies are so scarce you'll start considering bottle caps as valuable currency. And yet, amidst all this horror and despair, the game somehow makes room for giraffes, puns, and humanity. It's emotionally devastating, occasionally wholesome, and has more emotional range than most Oscar-winning films, and also more bricks thrown per minute than a construction site in a hurricane. Hellblade is like being handed a Viking helmet and a microphone, then shoved head first into a psychological roller coaster with no seatbelt. Senua talks to herself more than I do when losing at Mario Kart, and the voices in her head are just as judgmental as mine when I try to cook rice without instructions. The game wants you to wear headphones, not for better immersion, but so the voices can argue inside your skull. It's less epic warrior quest and more emotional therapy session with swordplay. The puzzles? Oh, you'll love them if you enjoy staring at rocks for 20 minutes trying to make them line up like IKEA furniture instructions written in Old Norse. And the combat feels like a dance between PTSD and pure rage. Still, it's stunning, intense, and so artistically committed that you'll forgive it for breaking your brain like it breaks your soul. 10 out of 10 would hallucinate again.
He's gone!
Resident Evil 4 Remake is what happens when you take a classic game, polish it with pure adrenaline, and unleash it back into the world with better hair physics and even worse decision making. You're Leon S. Kennedy, half secret agent, half shampoo model, on a mission to save the president's daughter while fending off a cult that clearly skipped their flu shots. The villagers are the friendliest folks alive if you enjoy being chased with pitchforks and chainsaws by people screaming in Spanish. The moment you enter enter the village, the game politely kicks you in the teeth, boards the windows, and sets the house on fire. Combat is tight, smooth, and sometimes so chaotic you'll forget what buttons do what, leading to moments like, I meant to reload, not suplex that guy through the floorboards. But hey, Ashley still screams, Leon still quips, and you still wonder why this guy doesn't just go into witness protection. This game really said, what if robots had more feelings than your ex? You get to play as 3 androids with more emotional baggage than a season of reality TV. Connor is a walking printer with sass, Kara is every protective mom on Facebook but with stealth mode, and Marcus is basically Android Moses. Every choice matters except when it doesn't, and you still get slapped by the butterfly effect like you owe it money. There's a scene where you have to make a life-altering decision in 5 seconds while your dog watches in disappointment. The moral dilemmas are so intense, I once paused the game for 20 minutes just to question my sense of right and wrong, and still made the dumbest choice possible. But that's the beauty of it. You're either leading a revolution or accidentally ruining dinner with your robo family. Detroit doesn't just become human, it becomes a hot mess, and I loved every second of the meltdown. Control is the perfect game for anyone who's ever walked into a government building and thought, yeah, this place probably houses interdimensional janitors. You play as Jessie Faden, a woman who walks into the world's creepiest office and is instantly promoted to boss because she touched a cursed stapler or something. Everything in the oldest house is either possessed, floating, or throwing filing cabinets at your face. Your gun is basically a mood ring for destruction. It changes forms depending on how mad you are. There's a fridge that eats people, a rubber duck that teleports, and documents more cursed than your last relationship. Nothing makes sense, and that's the point. You'll float, you'll shoot, you'll scream. What is going on at least 7 times per chapter, but it's brilliant. It's like X-Files, Inception, and IKEA all got trapped in a cosmic blender. Silent Hill 2 Remake is psychological horror for people who think sleep is optional. You play as James, a man who travels to a town full of fog, regret, and monsters that look like bad breakup metaphors. The remake brings Pyramid Head back in HD, which is great news if you've ever wanted to be chased by an angry fridge with legs and an oversized knife. The game loves to mess with you. Hallways loop, rooms breathe, and at some point you're not sure if you're solving puzzles or just slowly losing your grip on reality. It's like an escape room designed by your nightmares and Freud. And every monster seems to be a metaphor, but I stopped trying to decode them after I got jumped by a bed with legs. It's horrifying, confusing, and emotionally devastating, like going through your old Facebook memories but with more blood. A masterpiece of anxiety. Grist is what happens when a coloring book gets feelings and decides to make you cry without saying a single word. You're playing as a girl going through grief, but instead of therapy, she runs through jaw-droppingly beautiful landscapes that change colors more often than a chameleon in a rave. The gameplay is all soft jumps and poetic metaphors. You don't fight anything unless you count fighting the urge to sob uncontrollably while a piano plays in the background. Even the puzzles are like, hey, don't worry, take your time, breathe, maybe cry a little. It's the only game where falling off a platform feels like performance art. There are no health bars, no enemies, no timers, just you, your feelings, and an endless supply of metaphorical feathers. By the end, I was emotionally wrecked and spiritually enlightened, which is wild considering I spent most of the game turning into a bird and solving sadness. Imagine taking the angriest man in mythology, giving him a beard and a kid, and then locking them in a forest full of angry Norse gods. That's God of War 2018. Kratos, now less scream and smash and more dad with deep emotional damage, teaches his son Atreus how to throw axes and hide feelings. The game starts with a boss fight so intense it makes other games' final bosses look like toddlers in cosplay. You throw your axe and it comes back. I spent 15 minutes just playing catch like a Viking Thor. The one-shot camera never blinks, which is great for immersion, but terrible if you're trying to hide your facial expressions after dying for the 5th time. And Atreus? He starts as a slightly annoying kid and ends up your best buddy in Monster Homicide. It's epic, heart-wrenching, and makes parenting look like a full-time battle pass. Dad of the year, honestly.
Boy, look at me. Look at me, boy. Boy, look at me.
We did it.
Welcome to the rat apocalypse you never asked for. In A Plague Tale: Innocence, you play as Amicia, a teenage girl stuck in medieval France where 90% of the population is either dead, infected, or rats. And not just any rats, these things move in swarms like black pudding with teeth and vendettas. You're escorting your little brother Hugo, who's cute, sick, and possibly magical, because why not add mystical bloodline who rodent tidal wave? The puzzles involve lighting torches, sneaking past soldiers who've apparently taken a vow of stupidity, and frantically sprinting while shrieking, "Why are there more rats?" It's like a babysitting simulator mixed with pest control horror. And just when you think things can't get worse, the rats learn new tricks. It's emotional, it's dark, and by the end, you'll have a new phobia and a strong opinion about torch durability.
Yes.
This isn't just a remake, it's a full-blown glow-up. Final Fantasy VII Remake takes the original classic and turns it into a cinematic extravaganza where everyone's hair has more physics than real-world weather. You play as Cloud, a brooding sword model with more emotional walls than a medieval fortress. The story goes from eco-terrorism for beginners to existential dread with summoned gods, and the combat is a high-speed fusion of strategy and hit that thing with your sword until it explodes. Barrett yells like he's narrating his own cooking show, Tifa kicks like she's angry at gravity, and Aerith is throwing flowers and sass. Also, Sephiroth shows up constantly like your weird ex who doesn't know how to exit a group chat. It's massive, flashy, occasionally confusing, but deeply lovable. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and then you'll try explaining the plot to a friend and watch their brain short circuit.
Go on. One more shot. Tagging out.
If teen drama had time travel and a soundtrack curated by indie sadness itself, you'd get Life is Strange. You're Max, a photography student who discovers she can rewind time, not to win the lottery, but to navigate high school drama and save her best friend Chloe from death, emotional breakdowns, and hair dye-related disasters. Every choice you make feels important until you realize time itself is judging you like a passive-aggressive roommate. You'll spend hours making moral decisions like, should I water this plant? And then accidentally trigger a butterfly apocalypse. The dialogue can sometimes sound like it was written by an alien who studied humans via Tumblr, but that's part of the charm. It's angsty, beautiful, confusing, and at some point, you will cry. Or time travel away from the crying. Either way, prepare for emotional whiplash and indie rock induced goosebumps.
Max? Chloe?
No way. You again.
Go! Go! I got this!
Kenna is like if Pixar made a game, added spirits, and let you smack corrupted monsters with a magic baton of good vibes. You play as a spirit guide, which basically means you help ghosts move on by bashing their emotional baggage into sparkly dust. It's wholesome until the boss fights start hitting like emotional therapy with flaming swords. The game is stunning, like pause every 10 seconds to take a screenshot kind of pretty. And the rot, those tiny adorable puffballs you collect, are so cute you'll want to adopt 40 and let them ruin your living room. Kenna herself is calm, collected, and an absolute unit with a stick. You'll explore forests, solve environmental puzzles, and feel vaguely guilty every time you hurl a fireball at a ghost with unfinished business. But hey, guiding spirits never looked so stylish or hit so hard with a charged pulse attack. It Takes Two is what happens when a marriage counselor says, let's settle this with platforming and interdimensional therapy. You and your co-op partner play as Cody and May, a bickering couple turned into tiny dolls by their daughter's tears because of course the child summons a talking love guru book that won't stop shouting in an accent that sounds suspiciously like every motivational speaker ever. Every level changes the gameplay so often, it feels like a chaotic carnival of co-op mechanics. One minute you're flying squirrels, next you're a garden tool, then suddenly you're shooting sap at murder bees. It's creative, chaotic, and filled with the kind of puzzles that lead to real-life arguments about why didn't you double jump, bro? But at the end of the day, it's one of the most joyful, inventive, and gloriously unhinged relationship simulators disguised as a platformer ever made.
Whoa! I think this powers up the soul.
Hi-Fi Rush is what happens when your rhythm game dreams crash headfirst into a Saturday morning cartoon and come out wearing a leather jacket. You play as Chai, a wannabe rock star with a malfunctioning robo-arm, a talking cat named 808, and the attention span of a microwave burrito. Every step, every punch, every dramatic explosion happens to the beat of some absolute bangers. And if you miss the rhythm, don't worry, the enemies will make fun of you while knocking your teeth out. The world is a neon disco ball full of corporate evil, sarcastic robots, and boss fights that feel like Guitar Hero but with more face punching. Even the tutorials are catchy. By the time you're parrying lasers to the black keys, you'll either feel like a rhythm god or a metronome's biggest disappointment. Either way, you'll be head bobbing like your joystick's possessed. Welcome back to Aperture Science, the only place where solving puzzles with interdimensional holes somehow ends with cake-based trauma. Portal 2 is a sarcastic fever dream where your best friend is a gun that makes holes in reality, and your worst enemy is a passive-aggressive AI named GLaDOS who's basically Siri with abandonment issues. You'll face puzzles that make you feel like a genius right after making you feel like a potato. And then there's Wheatley, a robotic flashlight who's somehow dumber than your phone's autocorrect. The writing, sharper than a laser wall, the gameplay, a physics class that finally makes sense. It's hilarious, brilliant, and slightly terrifying how good Valve was at turning science into comedy gold. Just remember, the cake is still a lie, but the fun, very real, also probably dead. Playing Journey feels like attending a silent spiritual retreat where instead of meditating, you slide down golden sand dunes and cry at fabric. You play as a robed figure whose entire goal is walk toward the light, and somehow that's the most emotionally fulfilling thing ever. No dialogue, no UI, no combat, just vibes, sand, and emotional destruction. Occasionally, a random stranger joins your game, you'll chirp, you'll bond, and then they vanish forever, leaving you wondering if that was a person or just a sentient scarf with a soul. The art direction looks like a dream you forgot you had, and the soundtrack, oh, it slaps your heart with a violin and whispers, "Feel something, coward." It's beautiful, short, and the only time I've ever cried because someone floated away mid-jump. Until Dawn Remake is a teen horror movie simulator where you control the cast and, more importantly, who dies horribly. It's like directing your own slasher flick, except the actors are constantly doing dumb things like splitting up or shouting into the woods. You've got a cabin, a bunch of hormonal teenagers, snowstorms, a Wendigo or 5, and QuickTime events that determine who gets to live and who gets to scream in slow-mo. Every choice matters, and by matters I mean one missed button press could send someone flying off a cliff while you yell, "It's not my fault," at your controller. The drama is juicy, the scares are legit, and the butterfly effect system means you can replay just to kill that one guy who annoyed you. It's suspenseful, ridiculous, and surprisingly deep for a game where half the plot is, "Don't touch that, it's cursed." Little Nightmares is the exact moment your childhood fears got a video game adaptation. You play as Six, a tiny trenchcoat wearing escape artist with the courage of a lion and the body mass of a bagel. The world is grotesque, dark, and full of adults who look like rejected Muppets after a radioactive seafood buffet. Everything's oversized, ominous, and designed to make you feel like a bite-sized snack. You'll sneak, climb, hide in lunchboxes, and get chased by a chef who breathes like he just ran a marathon through a cheese shop. And don't let the silence fool you, this game will mess with your head harder than a clown in your closet. It's eerie, beautiful, and weirdly philosophical for something where your main tactic is hide under furniture and hope for the best. Spec Ops: The Line starts like your average military shooter and ends with you questioning your morality, your aim, and whether you should ever trust a game that says it's just another mission. You play as Captain Walker, a guy who takes a detour through hell disguised as Dubai. At first, you're like, shoot the bad guys, save the day, but by hour 4, you're knee-deep in sand, sweat, and regret. The game slowly pulls the rug out from under you, then sets that rug on fire and blames you for it. It's basically Apocalypse Now with Xbox controls. And every heroic action you take feels more like a therapy session gone wrong. There's no happy ending, just a deep desire to hug a puppy and maybe uninstall shooters for a while. It's a masterpiece of psychological warfare that pretends to be Call of Duty before slapping you with philosophy and guilt. Solar Ash is like Tony Hawk went to space, had an existential crisis, and learned to fight giant eyeballs with rollerblades. You play as Rei, a Void Runner skating across the shattered remains of reality, and let me tell you, if the world's ending, at least it's doing it in neon. Movement is slicker than a greased otter, and everything feels like surfing a laser wave while a synthwave band plays your emotions. The enemies are colossal, the world is broken, and time is about to explode or melt or something equally dramatic. But hey, Rei's got drip, and she's not here to explain. She's here to glide, grind, and slay corrupted space monsters while monologuing about cosmic loneliness. If you like your platformers fast, floaty, and occasionally punching existential dread in the jaw, this one's for you. Style points, maxed. Emotional clarity, minimal. Everforward is like being stuck in a dreamy escape room run by your subconscious, except the puzzles judge you and the only clue is emotional trauma. You're a girl named Maya, trapped in a pastel-colored purgatory made of floating blocks, laser turrets, and questionable parenting decisions. Every puzzle solved brings back a piece of memory, and yes, those memories are here to make you feel mildly devastated while pretending you're smart. There's no dialogue, no explosions, just an endless loop of, oh, that's how you do it, followed by, never mind, I'm stuck again. If Portal had a sleepier, more introspective cousin who listened to lo-fi beats while crying about childhood, this is that cousin. It's soft, quiet, and sneakily emotional, like your brain went on a walk and tripped into a TED Talk. Bring patience, bring snacks, and prepare to say oof at least 5 times. Before Lara Croft became a world-class archaeologist with a PhD in flipping over wolves, she had to suffer through this brutal reboot that starts with a shipwreck and ends with her yelling at ancient deities while covered in bruises and bad decisions. Tomb Raider 2013 is less about tombs and more about what else can we throw at this poor woman. You fall off cliffs, get impaled, eaten by wolves, kidnapped by cultists, and still somehow have the energy to light 1,000 torches with a single match. Lara starts the game like a nervous student and ends it like she's ready to wrestle bears. The action is relentless, the environments are stunning, and the number of times you yell, "She survived that?" reaches double digits by mid-game. It's gritty, intense, and somehow the most stressful wellness retreat ever designed.
Can't hit her! We gotta protect the tower. Stop her!
Alan Wake 2 is what happens when Twin Peaks, your sleep paralysis demon, and your unfinished novel join forces to ruin your week. Alan's back, and surprise, he's still stuck in a horror story he literally wrote, only now the darkness is meaner, and he's partnered with a detective who probably should have taken a different case. The game flips between realities like a Netflix series that keeps changing genres just to mess with you. 1 minute you're solving a murder, the next you're in a dream stage musical being attacked by words and shadows. The flashlight is still your best friend, the jump scares still have the nerve, and Alan still can't catch a break, even his typewriter's haunted. It's smart, scary, and more meta than a Reddit thread explaining itself. If writing ever terrified you before, this game will make Microsoft Word feel like a cursed relic. And that's it. 25 linear games, absolutely worth your time. If you laughed, cried, or reconsidered your fear of rats, hit that like button and sub for more lists of chaotic gaming greatness. And hey, if you've got a favorite linear game I missed, drop it in the comments. I'll be over here trying to emotionally recover from Spec Ops and Little Nightmares.
Hi. Oh, it's all right. What happened here, little guy?